some of the advantages a buyer or a potential buyer could have from going into a rent to own, right? So a rent to own is just another way for you having a house, ending up buying a house, or another way for you to become a homeowner. So what are some advantages of this rent to own to a buyer? So without taking so much of your time, let's dive into some of these advantages. So the first advantage to a buyer is going to be the path to home ownership, right? Remember, not everybody has that advantage of going into just buying a house through the traditional way, which is you getting a mortgage and not having to deal with a landlord, right? Getting a mortgage and just buying your house upfront. But however, if you have the intention of actually ever purchasing a house, but they're not ready at that moment, and you see a house that might likely fit everything you're actually going to like in the future, and decide I want to go and maybe rent this property, but I want to rent it, and I go into an agreement with the landlord or the seller, into an agreement of renting to own that property. So one day I can become a property owner. Well, yeah. So this is the advantage, right? It gives you the path to home ownership, and it just provides you an opportunity with for those who have limited funds to actually start the process in another way, right? You have, without you going through down payments or any credit challenges at that moment. Would you do it at a later date? Might be. But however, at that particular time, you really don't have to deal with people looking into your credit, you putting that down payment, which you don't have at that time, right? If you're not financially stable. So it gives you a path to home ownership, and you can actually learn to be responsible, because of course there are many things that come with a rent to own, right? So that's the first advantage. The second advantage is going to be lock-in purchase price. And lock-in purchase price just simply means the price of that property is being determined at the very beginning, not at the end. So if today I decide to go into a rent to own agreement with a landlord, of course that property's price is going to be given to me, or we are going to negotiate on the price on this day, right? Because at a later date, I'm still going to purchase that house for that particular price and not another price. So that's the advantage for a buyer. So no matter how much value that property increases in the future days or years, you're going to be living in that property as a tenant. The day you decide to buy it, the seller is not going to make you pay the market value at that moment, but is going to let you pay for the price you guys had agreed upon at the previous date. Okay, so that's something beneficial to the buyer, right? So you don't have to worry about, hey, what if prices increase in the next few years, or interest rate increase in the next few years, and all those things. You guys are only going to stay on that fixed price because that price was already agreed upon. So the third advantage is going to be time to improve finances. Remember, I talked about you actually getting to the part of home ownership. There are many reasons why somebody wants to go into a rent to own. Might be at that time they don't have a good credit, might be they don't have stable finances, or they just feel like they are not ready to get into it, but yes, they want to become a homeowner one day. So however, this gives you that time, right, to improve all those things and improve your finances as well. So rent to own contracts usually have a longer period, which is 1 to 3 years mostly. Could it change? Absolutely. Depends on the agreement you, the buyer, or the tenant goes into with the lender, or the landlord, or the seller, right? And you can improve your credit score, like I said, or any financial situations that you really wanted to work on at that moment. So you have all this time. You have maybe 3 years or more, or depending on what you guys agree upon, to get these things on the best part so you can actually become a homeowner. The fourth advantage to you getting into a rent to own is going to be test drive the property. Test drive just simply means just like you want to buy a car and they tell you, can come and test drive the car. You just want to know the functionalities, if it works properly, if you can take it to point A to B. But however, on a house basis, you just want to make sure that, hey, this house is comfortable for me and my family to live in. This house has the amenities I am actually looking for, okay? So it allows you the experience of living in that home before committing to purchasing it. So you don't have to worry about, I'm going to buy this house. I don't even know how it's going to look like or it's going to feel, because of course you're just seeing it. You're not going to be using each and every one of the appliances or whatever the house already has in stock, right? Some of the time you only get to know about those things when you had already purchased it. Might be the previous owner, they didn't keep the yard well. Might be they weren't cleaning all other stuff. Might be the kitchen wasn't properly clean or something, right? However, at that moment, you have that advantage of tasting the different amenities in the house before you ever dare to go buy the property. So in case you test it and it's not what you want, of course, might you want to move, might you want to get off the agreement? That's up to you and the seller and the consequences that is gonna follow. But however, you have this option of experiencing it. And then number 5 advantage is going to be flexibility. So it rent to own provides flexibility in terms of allowing buyers to negotiate aspects like repairs and maintenance, right. So you, the buyer, you can negotiate your repairs and maintenance with the tenants. However, keep in mind that if you're doing a rent to own, some of the maintenance in the house you are going to be responsible for, okay? Even though as a traditional buyer, you might not have that leeway of doing your repairs and maintenance up to the taste you want to, because of course the seller might not be willing to do all those repairs, right? And now you have to waive some of those because you actually want the house, or they might reduce the price for some, however not end up fixing up. But the tenant in this case has that opportunity to let their landlords get most of this maintenance fixed and repairs, okay? But keep in mind, like I said, it doesn't mean that you going to rent to own, you might not do any of this maintenance at all. So just make sure you read some of these things well, do your research, ask questions to those who you think they will have a better recommendation for you before you get into some of these different ways of actually becoming a homeowner. Because everything has a good and a bad side, right? But however, you want to make sure that if I decide to do a rent to own, I am going to have more advantages or have more benefits to it than actually not having the benefits, okay? And this brings us to the end of this video. Remember, my videos are just for educational purposes only. Do your own research, ask questions, and ask professionals who know better in these different fields, okay? So if you're interested in learning more about how to get a home or some tips on how to go about buying a house, there is a book. I am going to leave you the link in the description box, so feel free to request for a digital copy and read it for your own good. Keep in mind, I just do educational videos, okay? So please don't forget to subscribe, like, share, and comment if you want me to talk about anything in particular. As always, stay safe and healthy. Until next time.